Join Dreamcard announcer at Siesta Musica every Saturday from 2 to 4 in the afternoon dito sa inyong nag-iisang himpilan, Cool FM. Mapapa-cool ka dito!
You're listening to Cool FM. Cool FM is a TVH Group of Networks radio station. Tondo's greatest hits are here. You are listening to Cool FM, live from Cool Studios. This is koolNews Primetime.
Good evening, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. I'm Stephen Iwanag del Sol, and this is koolNews Primetime. Finally, Education Secretary Juan Edgardo Sayanga said on Saturday that he feels some healthy pressure over his new assignment as the Chief of Department of Education, or DepEd. According to Angara, this pressure will motivate him to perform for the country. He said, "There's a little, but it's a good kind of pressure, the pressure that we must perform for our country and for our children." Angara added that DepEd will look into the state of the teachers regarding their benefits and their workload. He continued, he said in Filipino, "We will fix the promotion system in government, look at their benefits, their teaching load. Sometimes they do a lot that their teaching is affected because of their administrative work." He added that DepEd will also focus on computer literacy so that students will perform better in exams. He added, "Some exams are computerized. The student sees the computer for the first time, so sometimes he or she is startled. And that is what we want to practice. That the student will be used to taking computerized exams." Angara took the oath as the new DepEd chief on July 19. He succeeded Vice President Sara Duterte, who resigned from the post on June 19. The Commission on Human Rights on Saturday is investigating the gun attack against a journalist in Laguna last Monday. Attacks made against media workers are attack of the fundamental right to all freedom of speech, freedom of expression, speech, and our access of truth to reliable sources of information, the Commission on Human Rights said in a statement. Journalist Mark Angelo Barrios, a reporter of Laguna Patrol, was reportedly targeted by two motorcycle-riding men. Barrios, however, did not sustain any gunshot, although his motorcycle was damaged. The Philippines ranked 134th among 180 countries in terms of press freedom. Press organization Reporters Without Borders said in its report that while there are less attacks on journalists during President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s administration, the attacks are worrisome. Harassment by means of threats and red tagging persists, while defamation and cyber defamation are still punishable by prison sentences, the press organization added. The CHR commended the efforts of the Presidential Task Force on Media Security for handling the case. On Thursday, he said that they requested the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group and the Task Force USIG of the Philippine National Police for a deeper probe into the shooting incident. CHR called on the government to ensure that a safe environment is accessible to all Filipinos as they report about the truth. The Human Rights Body also urged the media community to report cases of attacks and threats through their Alisto alert mechanism, an initiative to protect the welfare of media workers in the Philippines. The Archdiocese of Cebu has so far gathered 122,000 signatures from those opposed to the passage of the divorce bill. Recently, on July 12, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines says it's still against the divorce in Philippines, but won't impose the stance regarding the separation of the church and state. Archbishop Jose Palma said the Roman Catholic Church here was elated to learn that more people are affixing signatures to the Yes I Do to Marriage, Yes to Family, No Divorce signature campaign in 170 parish churches in the province. The prelate said many other countries admire the Philippines, where love is reciprocated with love, and that Filipinos commit to a relationship for life. Messenger Raul Go, head of the Cebu Archdiocese Matrimonial Tribunal, echoed Palma's statement, saying Filipinos still hold on to what marriage is designed for. Go urged politicians who are espousing divorce to be proud that the Philippines continues to hold the record as the only nation outside the Vatican that has no divorce law. He added, it is something to be proud of and not to be ashamed of, citing anecdotes from foreigners wanting to have Filipino wives because they stick to marriage until death. Race activist Carmelo Diola said that the Archdiocese expected only 100,000 to sign the manifesto, but thousands more showed up in churches to sign. Cebu has over 4 million Catholics in 170 Catholic churches. House of Representatives approved on May 22 House Bill 9349, or the proposed Absolute Divorce Act, with 131 affirmative votes, 109 negative votes, and 20 abstentions. The bill is pending on the Senate. Albay 1st District Representative Ed Salaman, author of the House bill, said the passage signifies a significant shift in societal attitudes towards marriage and relationships. By legalizing divorce, Lagman said the Philippines acknowledges the need to provide options for individuals trapped in quote-unquote unhappy and irreparable marriages. The controversial wheelchair ramp connected to a footbridge at an EDSA busway station will be temporarily closed, according to MMDA this Saturday. Acting MMDA Chairman Don Artes said the closure would facilitate the installation of either a wheelchair platform or lift, which may take 1 to 2 months. Artes said in a news forum in Quezon City, in the meantime, we will temporarily close it while the construction is ongoing. Our fellow citizens will have to use the stairs for now. He also defended the ramp, saying it only appeared steep and dangerous for persons with disabilities because of the camera angle of the person who took the photo and posted online. Artes said the angle that went viral on Facebook looks like a slide rather. However, if you look at it from another angle, it's not that steep. MMDA had on Friday said that the contractor of the wheelchair ramp has pledged to install the alternative platform or lift for free. He also assured the public that the government would not incur any expenses for the improvements to the ramp. Pictures and videos of the ramp at the EDSA Philam busway station, which was inaugurated on Monday, went viral after netizens, including PWDs, noted how the ramp was proving to be unsafe for its intended users. One of the videos showed a man in a wheelchair trying to descend the ramp facing backward, holding onto the rails for control and requiring help from a companion. The ramp connects the footbridge to an elevator, which PWDs can use to enter or leave the station. In 2018, the MMDA drew flag for the elevated and accompanying footbridge, which pedestrians also found too high and steep. The agency then defended its construction, saying it was intended to curb jaywalking. A liquor ban will be imposed in Quezon City on Monday, July 22, to ensure peace and order during President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos' third State of the Nation address. The city government said in a social media post a liquor ban will be enforced on July 22, 2024 in Quezon City from 12:01 a.m. to 6 p.m. Philippine Standard Time. This is to ensure peace and security in the city from the upcoming State of the Nation address of President BBM. Said in Filipino. Marcos is set to deliver his third SONA on Monday, July 22 at the Batasan Pambansa Complex in Quezon City. Also coming up on Cool FM this July 22, we will have a special coverage, including all the available cool news, including me, yours truly, Asphere and Jo, for the before and after commentary of the said State of the Nation address. Keep it us on July 22 on that said time. Coming up on koolNews koolNews Primetime Sonnet. Oh my goodness. In the international news, Netanyahu to ICJ, the Jewish people are not occupiers in their own land. In technology news, X is working on its way to block links in replies. And more news ahead coming up on koolNews Primetime. It is 9:10 p.m. We will return after a short break. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a blistering response to the International Court of Justice on Friday after it issued an advisory opinion declaring Israel's presence and policies in the quote-unquote occupied territories illegal. Both in the territories Israel quote-unquote occupies, including the West Bank and Gaza, both taken in a defensive war in 1967. Israel does not consider the territories occupied, but rather disputed, since there was no legitimate sovereign governing them. Both include sites holy to the Jewish people, especially to the West Bank, known in Israel as Judea and Samaria, which includes cities including Hebron, where Jews lived for millennia until a pogrom in 1929. They have since returned. The ICJ decision also applied to Eastern Jerusalem, which includes the Old City and the Jewish Quarter, where Jews have lived for thousands of years. In that sense, it echoed United Nations Security Council Resolution number 2334, which the lame duck Obama administration allowed to pass in 2016. The absurdity of that policy, which prohibits Israel's presence on land holy to the Jewish people, led the Trump administration to adopt the opposite approach. Netanyahu said in a statement released Friday, the Jewish people are not occupiers in their own land, including in our eternal capital, Jerusalem, nor in Judea and Samaria, our historical homeland. No absurd opinion in The Hague can deny this historical truth or the legal right of the Israelis to live in their own communities in our ancestral home. Israel considers the ICJ one-sided and biased and did not participate directly in the proceedings at the court. The decision brushes aside many of Israel's considerations in maintaining control of the territories, including terrorism. The effect of the ICJ's decision is to hand Hamas terrorists and the Iranian sponsors a significant propaganda victory and adding to Israel's political struggles in the West, even though the opinion of the court is only advisory. Let's move on to the technology news. X, or formerly Twitter, is developing a new feature that could help address spam posts on its website. According to Nima OG, an independent app researchers who's unearthed several unreleased X features in the past, the platform formerly known as Twitter is working on the ability to disable links in replies. Based on the image OG posted, users will be able to tick a box for the option if they don't want people to be able to respond with a link to their posts. Christopher Stanley, the senior director for security engineering, confirmed the feature's existence in response to a post about it. He said, my team built this, he wrote in his reply. In addition to keeping spam bots away, the feature could also prevent real human users from promoting their websites and other people's posts. However, it can also prevent users from posting links to legitimate sources in case they're trying to debunk false information and prevent fake news from spreading further. OG previously found that X was experimenting with an in-app currency that's meant to help creators earn money from the platform. Several months after rampant impersonation on the website, he found that it was working on the new ID verification features as well. He also discovered that the company was looking to compete with LinkedIn by offering job listings to verified organizations. Microsoft. Blue screen of death upended the government services and businesses across the country, the United States, on Friday, disrupting emergency call centers, banks, airlines, and hospitals. While Microsoft said a faulty software update from the U.S. cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike was responsible for the major IT outage, the incident brought attention to just how big of a market share both companies have in their respective sectors. Dominic Sedito, clinical assistant professor of management science and systems at the University at Buffalo School of Management in New York, he said, when we use all the same vendors, then these sorts of things can become more pronounced when they do happen. A statement from CrowdStrike said the outage was caused by a defect in a content update to its Falcon cybersecurity defense software for Windows hosts. computers with Mac and Linux operating systems were not impacted, and CrowdStrike said the incident was not caused by a cyber attack. There's always the potential for bugs or errors when new software is launched, but most times there's small enough the end user is generally unaware. According to Tim Aaron Kaufer, assistant professor of aeronautical science at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida, the nation was certainly aware Friday the glitch disrupted everything from 911 call centers to the Starbucks mobile app. Salito of the University at Buffalo said, as companies all over the world and governments and agencies and entities are reliant on single technology platforms, it does not mean that these types of events are more and more and more painful. Salito of the University at Buffalo said, CrowdStrike is advertised as being used by more than half of Fortune 500 companies. Meanwhile, Microsoft's Windows is one of the most popular operating systems in the world, and the company provides an estimated 85% of the productivity software used by the federal government. According to statements from Representative Benny Thompson, Democratic Missouri, during last month's House Committee on Homeland Security. The issues we're dealing with is that the world is complex and interdependent, and the fact is that the technology that we use is global, said Scott White, an associate professor and director of the Cybersecurity Program and Cyber Academy at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. We become dependent on organizations like Microsoft. Within hours of the outage, some lawmakers and cybersecurity experts discussed whether Congress or the Biden administration and the Department of Homeland Security need to add more regulatory guardrails to make sure an outage of this magnitude doesn't happen again. Paul Rosenwig, a former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy, said the best response to Friday's outage would be to require companies and governments to have redundant systems so they have a backup when their systems go down. Asking companies to do that on their own would be prohibitively costly, Rosenwig said, and few would do it. But it would be hard for Congress or the Biden administration to require them without doing the same within the government, which would be time-consuming and astronomically expensive. It's an interesting question, said Rosenwig, founder of Red Branch Consulting PLLC, a homeland security and cybersecurity consulting company. The government can't mandate people diversifying if it won't do it itself. And it's the biggest, if not certainly one of the biggest Microsoft clients. But Rosenwig also warned that Friday's outage is likely to happen again, and possibly with more serious repercussions. So governments and the private sector need to be ready. They have to spend extra money to build into better protection, including backups, he said. If companies aren't going to do that, this will happen again, either by accident like this time or by malicious action. Other cybersecurity experts believe the system worked as it is, and that CrowdStrike bears full responsibility for the outage in ways that wouldn't be helped by additional government intervention. He said this incident appears to be a severe failure of quality control, not a malicious act. Cybersecurity strategist and former FBI counterintelligence official Eric O'Neill said on Friday's paralysis, while there will be damages assessed, regulation is unnecessary. The market will drive customers to other vendors or reassure them about CrowdStrike. O'Neill did say, however, believe better regulation of cybersecurity investment and best practices is critical because the U.S. government has reacted poorly in this crucial arena of critical infrastructure. If the U.S. government needs to bail out CrowdStrike, which I believe is too big to fail, then taxpayers will bear the burden. In the recent years, DHS and its Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency have worked to build out a network of public and private sector partnerships to help it respond to such global incidents, in the belief that the government cannot do it alone. Educating the private sector and cybersecurity firms on what to do and not to do is a critical component of that. Whether the problem is a cyber attack or a faulty cybersecurity update, CISA Director Jen Easterly told USA Today in a 2022 interview. To that end, CISA on Friday said it was aware of the widespread outage affecting Microsoft Windows hosts due to the new with company and federal, state, local, tribal, and territorial partners, as well as critical infrastructure and international partners to assess impacts and support remediation efforts. CISA also warned its network of public and private partners, and it observed hackers and other threat actors taking advantage of this incident for phishing and other malicious activities. CrowdStrike and Microsoft business clients may consider alternate vendors after the global outage, but that's no solution to the crux of the issue, said Javad Abed, an expert in cybersecurity and data vulnerability and assistant professor at the Carey Business School at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. The incident from CrowdStrike is a stark reminder that relying on a single cybersecurity tool, regardless of a vendor's reputation, creates a dangerous single port of failure, Abed said. And implementing multiple layers with multiple vendors is crucial for a business continuity and protecting critical operations. This sort of outage can happen to any vendor or company, Abed said, but it is largely preventable, and one of the fundamental principles of cybersecurity is redundancy. Having redundancies in the infrastructure may be costly in the beginning, but would be an investment in maintaining the trust between the business and their customers, Abed said. Companies should also rethink their testing and how they release updates, he says. It's a wake-up call for cybersecurity companies to revise their procedures. Going back for the international news, Republican Representative Elise Stefanik of New York and 27 other members of the Congress expressed dissatisfaction with the recommendations presented by Harvard University's Anti-Semitism Task Force, claiming they are weaker than the suggestions offered by a group assembled by former Harvard President Claudine Gay in December 2023. Lawmakers headed by Representative Tim Waltenberg, Republican Michigan, sent a letter to Harvard University interim president Alan Garber on Tuesday regarding the inadequacy of the task force preliminary recommendations for combating anti-Semitism. Released in June 6, offers steps for addressing discrimination and harassment against Jewish students on campus. In addition to calling for an improved disciplinary process for addressing anti-Semitism, the proposed recommendations suggest adding anti-Semitism and anti-Israel biases to discussions about oppression and injustice during Harvard's orientation for new students. Proposed recommendations also call for fostering spaces for productive dialogues and taking various steps to ensure a welcoming environment for religiously observant Jewish students, including accommodations for students who must miss class due to regular religious holidays or the Sabbath. Lawmakers contend that the preliminary recommendations reaffirm reports of anti-Semitism Jewish students face on campus, including from faculty members and teaching fellows. While the preliminary recommendations rightly call for substantive discipline and public condemnation in response to this hateful misconduct, they fail to offer real solutions for doing so, the lawmakers asserted. Instead of offering a tangible plan to address anti-Semitism at Harvard, the task force's most specific and actionable recommendations are to organize public talks on respectful dialogue and religious relations, increase the availability of hot kosher meals, and to circulate guidance about accommodating Jewish religious observance and a calendar of Jewish holidays, the lawmakers asserted. The inadequacy of the preliminary recommendations is particularly alarming, given that Harvard's leaders had already received a strong, detailed, and comprehensive set of recommendations from the AAG on December 18, 2023, which identified 8 goals and 38 steps for combating anti-Semitism. Rather than building on these recommendations, by presenting concrete plans for implementing them, the task force took 6 months to reinvent the wheel and offer an inferior set of recommendations. Recent Harvard Divinity School graduate Shabbos Kistenbaum, who testified in May before a House Judiciary Committee about anti-Semitism at Harvard, called the preliminary recommendations a slap in the face, according to the letter. During his testimony, Kessenbaum alleged that Harvard administrators were not receptive to his concerns, despite incidents involving hundreds of students and faculty members setting up anti-Israel encampments. He also recalled how many protesters established their own rule of law campus by appointing people to serve as safety marshals who would monitor the movements of the Jewish students like him. None of this addresses the pervasive and systematic systemic nature of anti Semitism. He said about the preliminary recommendations. There's nothing in here about the hiring and firing of faculty members, nothing in here about examining the pernicious and dangerous role that diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, has played in anti Semitism. There are no recommendations or even a mention of security at Harvard, Chabad, and Hillel. In response to an inquiry from the Christian Post, a spokesman from Harvard University directed the outlet to disclose preliminary recommendations. Harvard has and will continue to be unequivocal in our words and actions that anti-Semitism is not and will not be tolerated on our campus. University spokesperson stated, we remain committed to combating hate and to promoting and nurturing civil dialogue and respectful engagement. Earlier this year, Stefanik issued a statement regarding Harvard University's former President Gay's resignation, saying that it was long overdue. Calls for Gay's resignation began following her testimony during December 2023 hearing intended to address anti-Semitism at Harvard, the University of Pennsylvania, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Many felt that the three university presidents failed to condemn anti-Semitism directly amid the rise of on-campus pro-Palestinian protests following the terrorist group Hamas' October 7th terror attack on southern Israel and the ensuing Israeli military offensive in Gaza. The Hamas also mainly attacked the attendees of the Nova Music Festival in Gaza. Gay was also called to resign following accusations of plagiarism and failing to properly cite resources in her academic work. Coming up later on koolNews Primetime, lawmaker hoping for more major long-term government infrastructure projects. From the MMDA, number coding is not suspended on Monday. For the entertainment news, Jane De Leon debunks dating rumors with Rob Gomez. Maris Racal, sorry after my Edad na Becky remark. And later on, Filipina actress, oh my goodness, Manny Jacinto airs disappointment over his cut in Top Gun Maverick lines. We will return after a short break. It is now 9:34. Welcome back. Senator Peter Cayetano is looking forward to bearing more long-term infrastructure plans from President Bongbong Marcos in his third State of the Nation address. He also noted that these projects must transcend political administration and leave a lasting legacy for Filipinos. He also mentioned that the same kind of efficient infrastructure can be observed in Japan. Yeah, he said if you visited Hong Kong in the late 80s or early 90s, its subways are always being built. Now, after 30 years, its entire underground is connected, and you can also almost walk through it. We're happy that the last administration negotiated number coding from the MMDA. The number coding scheme will still be implemented on Monday on President Bongbong Marcos' SONA, the third SONA, according to acting chairperson Romando Artes said. Romando Artes, may mga nagtatanong kung suspended ba ang number coding scheme. Hindi po. Tuloy po ang number coding scheme dahil kung isa-suspend po namin yan, ay dadami po ang mga sasakyan sa lansangan na lalong magpapaskip ng traffic. He said that any additional vehicles would add to the congestion. In the MMDA's traffic plan for the 2024 SONA, parts of Commonwealth Avenue, IBP Road will be closed to the traffic. Artists likewise reminded the public to those who have non-urgent trips, especially in Batasan, Quezon City area, to stay home instead and watch the State of the Nation address. Finally, for entertainment news, Jane De Leon put an end to speculations that arose after she and Rob Gomez were recently spotted dining out in Taiwan, saying she is not in a relationship with the actor. In an interview with TV Patrol on ABS-CBN, the Donna Star shared that she felt bad for the Kapuso actor because he was apologizing to her as she got dragged into the dating issue. The actress said the time that I uploaded something I seldom upload on Instagram, Rob was caught in the camera. We didn't know that the articles had already been written because of it. I also feel bad for Rob because he apologized to me. And he said, Jay, you got dragged to this. Earlier this month, Gomez and De Leon made headlines after the latter shared her video reaction to eating Ichiran noodles for the first time. In the middle of the clip, the former took a peek into the camera as he was sitting beside the Kapamilya star. Gomez made headlines last year after his intimate conversations with his Magandang Dilag co-stars Herlene Budol and Bianca Manalo got leaked online. On the other hand, De Leon and Gomez first worked in the movie Shake, Rattle, and Roll and Extreme in 2023 and are now working on a new horror film with actor Enrique Gil and beauty queen MJ Lastimosa titled Strange Frequency, to be released on the Metro Manila Film Festival this December. Meanwhile, when asked about her relationship status, De Leon affirmed that she is single and open to dating. In November 23, the Kapamilya actress first admitted that she was dating a non-showbiz older guy. Maris Racal and Vice Ganda had an amusing exchange after a 2022 clip of the actress describing the latter as "My edad na Betty" resurfaced on social media. Vice Ganda was among the celebrities mentioned in the vlog that on the said May 2022 challenge, Pipilahan o Di Pipilahan. She said, gusto ko may vice ganda sa buhay ko. Feeling ko kasi i-guide niya ako kung ano man problema ko. Iba talaga pag may edad na Becky. Parang grabe na, iba yung growth niya. Vice ganda apparently just started this, reposting on Thursday, July 18, a clip from Racal's vlog shared in 2022. And yeah, quite a strange a laughing reaction among the two. Meanwhile, Racal earlier made headlines after she confirmed her breakup with musician Rico Blanco. Finally, Filipino-Canadian actor Manny Jacinto aired his disappointment after his lines were cut in the movie Top Gun Maverick, saying Tom Cruise was only writing from himself. and adding it's up to Asian American actors to find projects that will cater to them. At the end of the day, Tom Cruise is writing stories for Tom Cruise. It's up to us, Asian Americans, people of color, will to be that for ourselves. We can't wait for somebody else to do it. If we want bigger stories out there, we have to make it for ourselves, he told GQ magazine in a recent interview. Despite his ass dialogue and brief screen time, Jacinto, who is of Filipino-Chinese descent, remained grateful to have a chance to work for a bigger and more famous franchise such as Top Gun. He said there was this sense of where the filming was going on set, like I can see them focusing the camera more on these other guys, not taking so much time on our scenes. Fortunately, it still was a great experience. You get to see this huge machine at work, how Tom Cruise works, and you get to be a small part of this huge franchise. The Acolyte actor affirmed that the experience fueled him to take matters into his own hands as he aspires to move forward with his career. Jacinto, if anything, it fuels me to try and create things on my own terms and hopefully lead projects that way. He's saying, adding that he's laying the groundwork for that by working with Filipino writers and producers for the upcoming projects. I would love to do an incredible A24 or Neon Indie. I'd love to be a part of the new franchise, whether it's a comic, a manga, or an anime, like Naruto or One Punch Man. There's still so much I need to do, continued the actor. Jacinto is currently earning raise for his role as Kimir, aka Sith Lord, in the Star Wars series The Acolyte, also airing on Disney+. He's also known for his portrayal as Jason Mendoza on the fantasy comedy series The Good Place, and for voicing Maliksi in the English language voice cast of Netflix Trece, among others. His future projects include Freaky Friday 2, The Knife, and Balestra. Finally, from the Philippine Christian Family Broadcasters, in 1 John 1 verse 7 to 9. But if we walk in the light, actually, verse 5, this is the message we have heard from him and declare to you, God is light. In him there is no darkness at all. If we claim to have fellowship with him and yet walk in the darkness, we lie and do not live out the truth. But if we walk in the light, and as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus, his son, purifies us from all sin. If we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just, and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. That is the verse of the day from the Philippine Christian Family Broadcasters and in BibleGateway.com. Again, that is 1 John chapter 1, verses 5 to 9. And that is all for tonight's koolNews Primetime. We will return tomorrow with Hello Pilipinas together with Aspire. I'm Stephen Iwanag del Sol. The music continues here and later on at 10 p.m. My Tulugan with the Master Geo coming up. And once again, I'm Stephen Iwanag del Sol. Take care and good night. God bless the Philippines.